Hey, crypto heads, it's the Goose with the Cryptic Paranormal Show. I'm just making sure everybody's off mute before I start. That would be nice, right? But hey, at least I hit live before we. No, I'm just kidding. We have an awesome show tonight. It's going to be super fun. Can't wait to get into the meat of it. But let's go around and see how everybody's doing tonight. D-Nice, how you doing?
Great. Super busy trying to get ready. We're leaving for vacation again on Saturday.
Oh, nice.
So just trying to get the house in order, get all,
Are you going back to the lake or somewhere?
A different lake.
New?
A different lake.
Hey, a lake's a lake. I love them all.
That's my perfect vacation. My perfect time away is next to water. Yeah. So what we're
I have to agree.
It's fun. There's going to be a bunch of kids. All the kids get along.
Yeah.
They could
It'll be fun.
Just play in the lake. It's perfect.
Especially when there's no plans to run and do anything.
Yeah, we have zero plans, literally.
That's awesome.
We can't even plan out food. Just everybody brings something. We'll figure it out as we go.
Awesome. What's up, buddy? How you doing, Mike? Mr. Heisenberg?
All right.
Nothing else to expound on? Just all right? Tell us a story.
Tell your story?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
All right. Well, there you have it. Everybody's doing good. So that's the important thing. But we got very special guests on tonight. We actually were honored to be on his show. Denise and I were able to be on the Woodline podcast. It was Tuesday
I apologize.
night.
I couldn't be there though.
Yeah.
You got daddy duty. Yep,
daddy duty.
That's part of life, man. But we had an amazing time. So I just felt like we needed to get him on our show and continue the conversation and all things weird.
We were definitely not done talking.
Yeah, no. But he's on the other end of the mic tonight. We're the ones asking the questions. So, Joe, how are you?
I'm going to take a book page out of Heisenberg. I'm fine.
Just
fine. All you need, man. All you need. It says everything.
Yeah.
Right.
It says everything.
It's all encompassing. Yeah, man, I'm doing great, man. Thanks a lot for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We had a blast Tuesday night, so we needed to keep it going.
It was good. I had fun.
What's up, Tony? Yeah. So the way we like to start things, we just kind of because I'm a comic book nerd, whatever.
Avoid the noid.
I'm gonna have issues. I'm just telling everybody tonight. Words are coming out hard. Everything's messed up. So
we're a bunch of assholes tonight. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah, I know. So Joe, what's your origin story? Just so everybody has a background on Joe, he's like the Bigfoot guy, the Bigfoot researcher. He dabbles in a little bit of the other paranormal. He has some stories he shared with us that we'd like to get out. But where did all this start for you? How did you get into researching Bigfoot?
I mean, from an early age, I was maybe 6 or 7 years old. I had a neighbor that lived across the street from us. He actually worked with my dad, and me and my brother, we would go over there, especially during the summertime, almost every night. And this guy had so many stories, whether it was paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, or just other strange stuff. And it just really captivated me, And I remember we would be there till late at night, and it was really dark for us to go home. We had to run across the street because we were scared, right? But even in elementary, I would check out the only 2 books they had all the time,
Yeah.
And then I got old enough to earn some money by cutting grass, and that's what I did with the money. Was I got my parents to take me to the bookstore, and I would buy any kind of book I could find on anything that was weird and strange, And
yeah,
I mean that went all the way up through high school, and nobody ever knew that I was into all this stuff. And then after high school, started dating and going to college, and after that had a family, so all that kind of got put on the back burner.
Right.
But once my kids kind of got old enough and all the shows started coming out, it kind of got me back into it again. And man, I just kind of took off from there. And then in I guess 2011, 2012, I started going out looking for Bigfoot, and using my family for bait, basically,
Yeah. Hey kids, we're going camping.
So
yeah.
I understand. I understand what your kids are going through.
Yeah, I'm here in Houston.
Okay.
Texas, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I started going to the San Luis Forest, which is an area known for a lot of sightings, which I didn't even know until like maybe 6-7 months after I started going out there. And people were telling me, yeah, they're out there. And I started doing more and more research and found out that they were indeed out there. And I have found some pretty good evidence.
Yeah, I know every region of America and even in the world has their own version of Bigfoot or Sasquatch. Now, I'm not really, I only know the areas of Texas I've gone into, but for just based on those areas and knowing what I know of like local Sasquatch legend, Texas doesn't seem like it's very like foresty. Am I wrong about that, or
you would be wrong. We've got, I think
I'm horribly wrong.
Yeah. We're either number 1 or number 2 with the most forest perspective.
Really?
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Because you're like half the United States.
Exactly.
That's true. I wouldn't have guessed that either, Goose, because
everybody
as
thinks
an outsider, like
everyone
when I
thinks
think
it's
of Texas,
flat land, desert.
I wouldn't have guessed it either, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
The only exposure I have to Texas is going to Fort Worth to visit my uncle like every summer, and it was barren. There was cactus. It was almost desert like. Scorpions. Everything was going to attack you. Everything was going to hurt. Didn't seem very forgiving. So it's interesting to me that you're from Texas, and I had no idea.
My knowledge of Texas came from King of the Hill.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, the Dallas Fort Worth area, right? Yeah.
Yep. Harlan.
Yeah. East Texas is loaded with forests. We have some of the biggest forests in the country, and not the biggest, like I said.
Wow.
That's cool.
And I really wouldn't have known that. I would have never thought that.
And it's a lot of this is very hilly. It goes from hills to swamps to rough terrain, rocks and desert. We really have it all here. That's one of the reasons why I think we have so many cryptids, or at least Dogman and Bigfoot are the main two that are seen here.
Yeah. I'm like, would you walk in a chupacabra fighting a Sasquatch? That'd be crazy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be much of a fight.
I know, probably not.
Yeah.
So Randy wants to know: do you guys call it Grassman, or do you just call it Bigfoot in Texas?
Yeah, we call it Bigfoot here in Texas. But like you were saying earlier, every region kind of has their own little, monster, if that's what you want to call it. Like outside of San Antonio, they have the Converse werewolf. Up near the Dallas area, they have their own lake monster. I think it's like in the Cattle Mills area. I forgot what they call that one, but yeah, we have and the chupacabra's big here. Also, I've been told. I've never seen it, or seen any sign of it, but I know chupacabra's pretty big here.
Yeah.
So, I have a question. Do you have a line for cryptids? Like, I believe in these ones, not these ones.
I used to be like so anti like anything else that wasn't Bigfoot, right? But as man, like I said, I've been doing this for 12 years, and I've heard so many stories from just so many different people, and good people just like us, right, that are not crazy,
Right.
And I've heard crazy stories coming from people who are normal everyday people, So I used to think that mermaids were just freaking made up, right? And I've heard. I was outside of the San Luis Forest, stopped at this little convenience store, and I was with my friend Big Dog, and he's got this big Yeti truck, is what he called it. It's a big Dodge truck, 4-door, jacked up, black and white, and it's called the Yeti. And he's got Bigfoot stickers all over his camper.
That's awesome.
And when I went inside to go get some ice, the girl at the cashier, who was the cashier, she was like, "Whose truck is that?" And I said, "Oh, that's my friend's truck." And she told me, she goes, "I've seen one before." And I said, "Really?" So she told me the story, and I'll tell you guys if you want to hear it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So she told me she was in California in the Big Bear Mountains. She was hiking, and she said that she was up there. She looks down the mountains a little way, and she said she saw this, what she thought was a man in a ghillie suit. And she's like, "What's this guy?" She said it was the summertime. She was like, "What's this guy doing out there in the ghillie suit?" And she says, "But he was so big." She goes, "I couldn't get over how big he was." And I said, "Well, how far away was he?" And she says, "He was like 200 feet away." And from 200 feet away, if you see a man and he's big,
Yeah.
he's big,
Right.
And so she goes, and that's when those shows had just started coming out too, So she said there was a big stick on the ground, so there was a tree right there, so she banged it against a tree. And she said when she hit the tree, she says, man, he spun around and he looked up at her so quick, and he got like almost like a linebacker stance. And she goes, and then he took off through the woods, and she goes, he took off so fast, it was unbelievable how fast he ran. She goes, and I think that's what he was a Bigfoot. She goes, there was just no way a man's gonna move that fast or that big from that far away,
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that's a cool story." I was, thanks for sharing it. And she was, "But I got another crazy story to tell you." I was like, "Well, tell me." So she said she would go to her grandparents like for the summer, and I don't know if it was in California or where, but she said there was a pier on her property, and she would go swimming, lake or the ocean. I can't remember what she said, but she said that down at the bottom there was this big crevice. So growing up, she was always too small to swim down there. She couldn't never make it. But as she got older, she was a stronger swimmer. And she said one day she decided, you know what, I'm going to swim down there to that crevice and see what's down there.
Oh.
So she's swimming down
Never a
there.
good idea.
And she said she gets almost to the crevice and she realizes she's running out of air. So she says she needs to go back up. And so she says she's going back up and she's realizing again that she's not going to make it, She goes, right about that time, these two hands come up in front of her and it opens up like this. And she says, so when it opens up, this big air bubble comes and like engulfs her head and she breathes that in and she has enough air to make it to the top.
What?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So,
holy cow.
Yeah. So,
Okay, I'm just going to say this. Even if she's faking, those are good stories.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But she's this
What's up, Tim?
Young lady behind the cashier. Yeah, what's up, Tim? And why would she just make that story up?
I was going to say I doubt she did, but those were good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you see it all the time too. We experience it all the time too. Once, like the shirts that we have. Once people see our shirts or your friend's truck or whatever, it's like they know that it's a safe person they can talk to because they can't just go to Thanksgiving and talk to their family about how they got saved by a mermaid, but when we wear this kind of stuff, it's like a beacon for people and they're like, oh my God, somebody I could tell my story to who's not going to call me crazy.
Yeah, right before an investigation like last year, I was in a Dollar General just picking up some batteries and this woman starts talking about how the brand new Dollar General that was literally just built 2 months ago was haunted by somebody that was. I'm like, well, it could be like attached to the land or something like that, but you never know. But yeah, it's funny.
That follows her.
Yeah, I stopped wearing my stuff out.
Yeah.
I was like,
you don't want too much attention.
I'm tired of talking to you guys, man.
Yeah. I've been stopped because I've got decals on my truck too.
Yeah.
And I've been stopped. I was actually maybe about 3 months ago. I was going to work and there was a guy walking down the street and he had his lunch kit in his hand and I was getting in my truck. He's like, "Hey man, you believe in Bigfoot?" I'm like, "Yeah." And right away he's like, "Yeah, one of my coworkers said that she saw it," and he started telling me that that she saw it. It was here in Texas. I can't remember where, but and I said, "Man," I said, I gave him my information. I said, "Tell her to call me. I'd love to hear her story." But she never called me. But yeah, just having decals on your truck or wearing a shirt or whatever, people will stop and talk to you.
Yeah.
And like now, even like my family members, they used to like never reach out to me with this kind of stuff, and now they're constantly calling me or, "Hey man, this happened to me," or this happened to so and so, or this happened to my son or to my neighbor, and
that's cool.
Get and they send me videos and stuff, and so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this on your show. Like it was such a taboo thing for so long. Like it takes so much bravery, honestly, and courage for people to speak out whenever they have an experience. So of all the experiences that we know about, there's probably 10 times more of people who are too scared to say something because of what it's going to do to their reputation.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I do this show. That's part of the reason why I joined Will's group is because I love hearing people say, "Hey, I heard you on this show." And it gave or not even me, but like they heard another guest on my show or Will's show, and that encouraged them to come out. So that's
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's one
actually,
thing I love
let's
about this.
this is a good time to talk about the opportunities that you have for people
Oh yeah, yeah,
with your
definitely.
research and all of that, because you guys do a lot of like interviews and things like that, but people can also do research for you if somebody's good at doing research, um, finding witnesses, all kinds of stuff. Tell people about what you got going on.
Yeah, so I'm part of the it's called the JRG, which is the Jevning Research Group, and that's started and founded by William Jevning, who's been in the field. I've been close to 50 years now. He was friends with Renee DeHenden and John Green, which are two of the pioneers in the Bigfoot world. Um, he had an encounter when he was a teenager, and so as part of his group, we have teams like in Washington, Oregon, West Virginia, Maryland, Ohio, Michigan,
Oh wow.
Tennessee, New York State, Minnesota, and of course here in Texas. And if you're interested in helping out with a team and doing some research and investigations, man, we love to have you on. You don't have to get out into the field. We don't require you to go out once a month, 3 times a year, whatever. You can do it from behind your computer, laptop, on your phone. Find places for us. Uh, find a history of places that have had Bigfoot sightings, and
Mhm.
talk to witnesses for us too. For that matter, we don't. Some people are like, that's my witness, or this is my witness. Man,
Yeah,
find a
yeah,
witness
yeah.
for us, and and share the data and share information. Um,
Right.
and you help out. You can give us any ideas or suggestions about research techniques or whatever. So yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's cool that
Well,
you offer so many different ways for people to help, because not everybody wants to be Bigfoot bait. Not everybody wants to go camping.
right.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
some people
And
are really good. Some people
you know,
have, you know, the subscriptions to newspapers.com and,
right.
all this stuff where they
Well,
have the ability to do the research.
like I haven't even been out this summer, and I probably won't go out in the summer because I don't like the heat. You know,
Right.
Yeah.
I don't like the ticks, I don't like the mosquitoes, I don't like the snakes.
Yeah,
So
caffeinated.
Yeah.
uh, you know, so yeah. So anybody wants to do that in the summertime, they can do it. So people love it. I don't.
There's no need for
I
that.
enjoy it a lot, but I don't love
I
it.
mean,
I
we
don't love it.
Yeah.
honestly don't do a whole lot of ghost hunting in the summer.
No.
I'd
Yeah,
rather do it like spring and fall,
spring and fall.
and then
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
some of these places are just way too hot.
Oh,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
awesome.
Yeah.
yeah. I think
Yeah,
it's
my
my
wife
most beautiful thing
actually,
I
my
have.
wife is a crafter, and she makes these like plaque things that just say Ohio, and it says "Drink Local," and it's like got a bottle opener on it.
Oh,
It's like
nice.
a wall hanging. So I'm
Okay.
like, can you make me some Bigfoot ones? Like put a Bigfoot silhouette in the Ohio, and then drink local, or
Yeah.
she's like,
Right.
yeah, definitely, that'd be cool because that would sell at like our kind of events that we go to.
Yeah.
And I'm
Right.
sure it would probably sell at any of her craft shows too. I mean, it's even if
Yeah.
people don't believe in it, they just like the thought of it, like of a
Right.
big.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
popular.
Yeah.
It's just a popular cryptid.
Yeah.
And I don't mind, like, first of all, who doesn't love getting presents? But I don't mind that, like, people send me stuff all the time and they'll be like, "Oh, this made me think of you." Like, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Exactly.
Right? It's
Yeah.
fun.
I've got magnets on my refrigerator that people say, "Hey, I saw this and I thought about you." I had
Right.
some friends. They went to a few years ago. They went to a Metallica concert in Seattle, and they went to a gift shop and they saw the little air fresheners, a Bigfoot. He bought it for me, right? My uncle did the same thing. I've got like 6 air fresheners in my glove compartment because my uncle saw them at Walmart and bought them.
Nice.
So,
I'm just gonna put my
Anytime.
address up there, you guys. If you guys want to send anything to me,
Yeah, anytime somebody buys me a gift and says this made me think of you, it doesn't matter how small or big it is.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I think almost all my Bigfoot stuff, other people have bought it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even like
That's
my
cool.
daughter's best friend, when he went to Seattle himself, he bought me a Bigfoot hat.
Nice,
You know.
love it.
Oh yeah, we have those.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Actually,
Mhm.
I was trying to. One of my patients' husbands that I delivered to like every week. He makes them, and I'm like every week, and I'm like, how much are they? How much are they? He's like, they're still $75 for this size, and they're like 90 for the bigger size. I'm like, okay.
Give me the wood. I'll make it for you.
Yeah, we
And my
can
wife
make
said I
it.
could. Yeah, that's true. My wife said I could put one up in the backyard. So I mean, that's fine with
Oh,
me.
Just give me the wood, man. I'll make it.
yeah.
Well, I got a big router at my job. Anybody make one out of acrylic and put a light at the bottom so it all.
Oh my gosh,
that'd be
would
awesome.
Cool. That would be cool. Yeah, those things get me every time.
Squatch and holler. Oh wait, we just answered that question. Never mind, squatching. Sorry, we got you.
Yeah, you give me the wood, man. I'll make it.
You guys just take the reins. I'm gonna chime in. I'll be Heisenberg tonight.
There you go.
Yeah,
You can't be Heisenberg. Don't even try. There's only one. I mean, yeah, okay.
Oh goodness.
So that's 2 times that you mentioned Seattle when you were telling your story. Is there? I mean, Seattle's obviously.
Yeah, up there in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah,
it's
that's a huge area for that.
Yeah, it's very heavily wooded, forested area, and yeah, it's one of the more popular ones in the country, if not the popular.
I would think most of Canada, right? Also,
probably.
I'm pretty sure there's a lot going on in Canada that no one knows, including Canadians, because so many of the Canadians live closer to the American border.
Right.
North.
Right.
So I'm sure there's. But I've got friends in Canada. A friend of mine named Chris, actually. He's ran into him a couple of times. He's a big time hunter, and that goes for UFOs too. I got a friend of mine. She's a farmer. Her parents are farmers, and they see stuff all the time out there in the middle of the country.
I feel like that goes hand in hand though. Like, okay, we live. It's not super in the middle of nowhere, but I have 3 acres. There's 25 behind me. That's not there's no light pollution, whatever, and I always have people come to my house and they always say, you have so many more stars here. Which obviously I do not, but I don't have the light pollution. So I think it makes sense, that you would see more UFOs in like the rural areas.
Yeah, exactly.
And obviously Bigfoot's not living in the cities. So, I mean, it makes sense that we'd have both out here.
Hinsdale would be a good place.
Hinsdale's freaking amazing for both.
Oh my god!
You know what? That's where I got the surprise. I went out there and saw the stars, and I was like, "Oh,
it was beautiful." Yeah. Wasn't there shooting? Wasn't like there were a meteor shower that night too?
Yeah, there was.
Yeah.
So
we hit it like the perfect night.
But that's the same thing. I don't know if you've ever seen Hinsdale, Joe, but it's like a house on the top of a mountain.
I'm supposed to go there in October, actually.
Oh, you're amazing. That would be a great
love it.
Go.
Yeah,
I'm gonna love it.
It's got a little bit of everything. There's even
Puckwudgies.
Stories of Puckwudgies, Bigfoot. Yep. I mean everything.
Yeah.
It's like a one-stop paranormal shop.
Yeah.
I need to look that up. Up.
Puckwudgies?
Yeah, I've got a book, and I actually showed it to Ray, my book that my son bought me. So I need to check that out.
Yeah,
see if it's in that book. I think it is in that book.
Yeah.
It's a cryptid. It's a little bit more on the supernatural side, I think, but it's been spotted, and I think Jeff Fenn actually caught a pretty interesting picture.
Yeah.
Of what could only be explained as something paranormal.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Bigley says that I believe it.
What?
Yeah, that is usually the gauge. If Bigley believes, we believe. He said his mother always swore she saw a UFO over Sharon Woods in the 90s.
Where's that at, Sharon Woods?
Sharon, PA, I'm assuming.
Okay.
He's from like Columbus area, so I don't know if it's down in that area or Mike, if you're listening, if you expound, we'd like to know.
He's in the I know he's in the Columbus area. I don't know where if Sharon Woods is around there.
I told you guys about my UFO, right?
Westerville.
About my UFO.
You could tell us. Go ahead.
So I was fishing in Galveston. I was on the jetties, and the gentleman I was with is on the 40, 50 feet to my right. And it was a nice night, not a cloud in the sky. It was a full moon. And he goes, "Hey, Joe, look, what's that?" And I look over at him, and he points up this way. So I look up, and we see this round disc right above us, just going so slow, so smooth, no sound, no lights, no wobble, and just super, super slow. Too slow, in my opinion, for anything that had to maintain a certain airspeed to stay in the air, right?
Like a frisbee or something.
Yeah, no propellers, no wings.
Right.
None of that stuff. And like, I don't know, maybe 3 miles down the way from us, there is a small airport there in Galveston for like the small single engine planes. And you could hear them buzzing as they would come in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And these things, this was right above us, and it didn't make a noise, nothing.
Wow.
And we watched it for about 5 minutes before it finally got out of sight. But we
Wow.
saw it.
Huh.
We saw the craft. We didn't see a light in the sky. And like I tell everyone, I think a professional baseball player could have hit it with a baseball. It was that close.
Holy crap.
Wow.
Yeah. It may have
That's
been 300
nuts.
feet above us. It was.
How
yeah.
big do you
Wow.
think it was?
I love that you said you watched it for 5 minutes. I'd be out of there in 5 seconds.
Well, that's funny. We didn't get scared. Neither one of us got scared. And we stopped fishing. I mean, our line was still in the water. We weren't paying attention to it. We just watched it until it got out of sight. And once it got out of sight, we just looked at each other. It was like, man, what the hell was that? It's like, I don't know. We just started fishing again, and that was it.
Okay,
Yeah.
when was this?
Man, this was maybe 15 years ago, I would say. Yeah.
So before like good cell phone cameras.
Oh yeah, way before that. Yeah.
I swear to God, everybody who does a UFO sighting has like the world's shittiest zoom camera.
Right.
Well, you
Oh,
know
same
how hard
with
it is to get that little thing in that little box?
Yeah.
When you're doing
Yeah, but it gets so pixelated. I'm like, does nobody have a galaxy?
It's the same thing with the Bigfoot world. If
Yes.
people post these crappy pictures, and I'm
Yeah.
probably gonna hurt somebody's feelings. I'm not trying
No.
to, because like
I
one thing
am. Get a new phone.
one thing I always say is that you may have saw something, you may have even seen a Bigfoot, but your picture doesn't translate well. Don't
Right.
post that. Don't post it, because now you make everybody
Yeah.
look crazy. You're drawing circles. You're drawing eyes. You're
Yeah.
it's like,
Right.
don't do that. And then you're zooming in, and it's so pixelated. All you see is
Right.
green and brown and black, and
Yeah.
And people already think we're crazy. We don't need
Right.
to make
Right.
it worse.
It's the
Right.
same thing with the ghost hunting. I mean, people post
Yeah.
things. It's orbs and I mean all that kind of shit. It's
Yeah.
it's a little embarrassing. I mean, I had somebody send me a picture. She swore it was a Bigfoot climbing up the back of a tree. I'm like, it's totally a black bear. You could see its ears. You could see its
Right.
claws coming. I'm like, and again, it was pixelated, but it was clear enough. I could tell right away what it was.
Right.
So like,
Well-
I didn't have time to argue with her. I'm like, it's a black bear. I found a picture. I Googled a picture of a black bear climbing up the tree.
Right.
It matched almost perfectly. I'm like, okay, have a good day. I'm like, I'm not going to be an asshole and fight you about it.
Right.
But
Right.
Yeah.
For some reason, nobody stops me about that shit or asks me about any of that stuff.
That's weird.
Yeah, I just gotta shake my head and just move on.
Yeah.
Bite my tongue a lot of times, because
Yeah.
I don't want, because really I don't want to be that guy who's the asshole, and I don't want to be the guy that's confrontational.
Yeah, and I'm
Right.
not ever trying to like discredit somebody's story. I have no doubt that you had a personal experience.
Right.
But the
Like I said,
picture is not proof of that.
Yeah, it doesn't
No.
doesn't prove. If anything, it makes us look even crazier, like you were saying.
Right.
And so, and I hate to discourage people from posting evidence. That's not what I want to do.
Right.
But
Right.
if you're gonna post that, you gotta take the criticism. That's the way I see
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anything you post, you got to be able to take it.
Yeah.
And I feel like evidence in any genre, if you have to circle it and zoom in and brighten the color and all this other stuff, like maybe that's not the one you post.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The red circles get me every time.
Yeah. Well, down there.
Hey, don't blame the red circles, man. Blame the person. Red circles didn't do anything to you, DJ.
I know.
There's a red circle on your logo right there. So.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. See? Right there.
There you
In
go.
case you
Say
can't see,
ghost-
there's a Bigfoot
Yeah.
there. So we just
Where?
circled it for you.
With a hey, look! I caught a ghost hunting Bigfoot. That's really weird. It's got a proton pack. See, I circled it. You can see it.
Listen, if somebody had a red circle around something like that, I'd be like, okay, I could clearly see what that is.
Right.
We're like, okay.
It is very ironic that we have a red circle, though.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't blame the red circle, man.
But yeah,
That's so funny.
yeah. So look into Puckwudgies before you go to
Yeah.
Hinsdale.
Okay.
Holy shit! Is that where this conversation started?
Yeah.
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 Then I mentioned Jeff's picture, then somehow it went on a tangent. And
Oh yeah, the pictures. Yeah. So somebody in the comments will probably correct me if I get any of this wrong, but they are generally associated with Native American lands, and they are not mean unless you are. If you are disrespectful, especially to Native Americans or to their land or anything like that, that's when they get wild and will attack and play jokes on you, and not like nice jokes, like ones where you might get hurt.
Okay.
But they're pretty cool. And
They're
like
mischievous.
the pictures that I've seen, well, like, you know, people draw what they saw. The pictures that I've seen, it kind of reminds me of like Dobby, I think, from
Yeah.
Harry Potter.
Okay.
That's kind of what they look like, right?
Hmm.
With like the big ears and
I'm actually trying to look a picture up, but they're all kind of like
Pixelated.
no,
And that circle around it.
they're too like cartoony. Like I can't.
but yeah, I think
Basically, they're like hairy little
things.
goblins. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to check that out.
Yeah, I don't know. I like them because I don't know, because they just leave you alone unless you're an asshole. They're like little karma goblins. Like if you're an asshole, then they're going to be an asshole to you.
That's not fair.
It is fair.
No, it's not.
Yes, puckwudgies. They have hair like a porcupine.
Okay. If that's it, then I think I have seen a picture
Yeah.
of of that. Not like a real picture, but like a picture.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It probably is just a porcupine, right?
Standing up or something. Yeah. Like reaching up on the tree.
Climbing the tree.
Yeah. I don't. Oh, okay. You have to pay homage to them in Mexico. Are they? They are associated with Native American lands, though, or is it just like it started in Native American culture, or what? I swear, when I was at Hinsdale, somebody told me that they were associated somehow.
I think I've heard that before too. This is the
Native
first I've heard about them in Mexico.
Yeah, I mean that's where the lore comes from, I believe. Kind of like the same like lineage as like the Wendigo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's
the Mexican version of the Wendigo, the puckwudgie.
Yeah. the Wendigo, the pictures I've seen, like the animated pictures I've seen of the Wendigo, are it's basically like a bipedal steer that looks like it's on steroids with fangs and
those things are scary.
Yeah,
it's got a big rack, right?
Yeah.
What is that again?
On its head.
Yeah. Oh yeah, on its head. Let's clarify that.
Let's clarify.
Antlers, not a rack on its head.
He's got a big rack on his head.
We used to have a picture in there?
Yeah, I remember seeing the Wendigo now.
I did, but I cleaned out a bunch of the stuff that we weren't using.
Geez.
I remember that crazy little thing, man.
Yeah, that thing was wild.
But again, that's like a more of a
supernatural
Pacific
kind of
Northwest thing.
Yeah.
Like another Native American myth or legend. As picture, I mean they did a whole episode on it in Supernatural. If you guys remember that show. Yeah.
I had a friend of mine I used to work with years ago, and I bet right about 31 years ago when I first got into printing. And he was telling me, because he was from Mexico, he was telling me that his brother was chased by a little person.
A leprechaun?
I guess.
Huh.
And he said that they lived like out in the country, and in this old like house they put together. They were very poor, wood and bricks and rocks, just whatever they could find, and that's how his parents built the house. That he grew up in this house with a true dirt floor, right? But he said one night his brother was out in the woods, or they lived right next to the mountains, and his brother came in running in the house. And he said he was like balled up in the fetal position, crying. And when they finally calmed him down, he said that he told them that he was walking home, and when he turned around, there was a little person behind him, and the person was laughing. So he said he started walking faster, and Ed started walking faster, and he was still laughing. And he said eventually he took off running, and then they started running after him. He said it freaked him the hell out.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
we've kind of like twisted.
See, this is why. You know what? Wait, This is why I don't listen to this shit. Because now I'm gonna have nightmares about leprechauns. I'm gonna have nightmares about.
He's gonna be throwing away the boxes of Lucky Charms.
All the lights are going to be on in the house.
Yes.
Yeah.
But seriously, we've kind of twisted what leprechauns traditionally were.
Right?
We
Yeah.
make them these cute little mischievous,
I
like
I
nothing
would
bad,
flip out.
Lucky Charms.
Right.
But
I would
if
flip
you
out.
look at
Or the gnome.
if you look at lore, they have like pointy teeth and they're not nice.
And
How big are they?
they're tiny.
Like like
They can
2,
like get
3
under your
feet
bed
tall.
if you're not careful.
What? They can't get under my bed.
Okay.
They have to slide in. Oh, maybe they could. Shit.
They could. Yeah.
I'm
But they're
kicking
still
there was
tall enough
those.
to reach up and get you on the.
There it
There you
is.
go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, they say that they think that leprechauns are actually like aliens. Little
That would
green
make
men.
sense.
That
Little
makes
green
more
men
sense.
in their cauldron, flying around. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, guys.
That makes
I'm not
sense.
gonna lie to you. I never thought about leprechauns for real. Now I'm
Yeah.
flipped out.
Yeah, they're real.
And so like the rainbow, right? There's scientists that believe that kind of propulsion. Okay, like in the movie E.T. Remember when at the end where he takes off and
Mhm.
leaves like that rainbow?
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
the propulsion does is leave that rainbow streak or whatever. And that's
Oh,
what,
that makes
I
sense.
guess, yeah, because if it leaves like a water vapor trail.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, steam, it would act like a
Yeah.
prism and turn. Yeah.
Yeah, like do you ever
Yeah.
turn your hose on
Yeah.
mist and it
Yeah.
makes a rainbow in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if they're
That is a rabbit hole we just went down.
I'm
wow.
gonna punch a leprechaun. I swear to God, if I see a leprechaun, I'm gonna kick it.
I hope you
Just to
don't see
tell
a
you guys
little
right now,
person
there'll
like a
be no
ball.
like pictures of it or anything like this.
Heisenberg. It will kill you before you have time to kick it.
Oh bullshit! I'm
You
going
get
down
one
fighting.
kicking.
I'm going down fighting.
You get that weed eater in the background.
If I have to, I will. Oh, that's electric. That's kind of hard. I'm chasing them with like a right out of extension cord.
Listen, you better calm down before you go to bed because Lincoln's going to come in your room and
Yeah.
have a bad dream or something. You're going to think it's a leprechaun.
I know he is a little leprechaun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's
I would freak out, but luckily Kate's by the door, so
Do you know, Joe, if there was light emanating from it? From the
what?
leprechaun that was chasing him?
No. I was talking about like from the craft, the cauldron.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Hold on, real quick. 1 second.
That's true. If you put a red circle around it, we'll totally believe it. So.
right. It's like I had a bunch of clothes on my the rocking chair in my bedroom, and I woke up and the light was hitting it that certain way, or it was just a shadow. And like you just wake up, it's 2 a.m, you're about to go to the bathroom, you can't focus. It's like holy shit.
I told you I think I punched a shadow man.
Oh yeah.
I was looking over my nightstand, man, and I didn't know what to do. I wasn't sure if it was a shadow, if I was dreaming, or if it was a shadow man. So I just punched.
That's a good. Mine's a karate chop. That's what my first instinct when something scary happens. I always go like this. Like I've ever karate chopped anyone before.
I woke up one night in the house I used to live in, and there was a dark figure standing next to my bed, and I threw a kick at it.
Yeah. There you go.
So doing karate on ghosts works.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you gonna read that, Goose?
So yeah.
Yeah.
So I got my book. This is the
Mike
book
Bigley,
okay.
for everybody watching, is actually one of the. He's a dark alley investigator, one from the Columbus group. So he's a good friend of ours. He said he definitely believes in UFOs, but are they aliens, or are we sometimes seeing top secret government projects or a natural phenomenon? Either way, some of the sightings are fascinating. I've definitely seen something go what appeared to be light speed.
Wow.
And by that, I mean we saw what we thought was a satellite accelerate and eventually streak off the sky and vanish. That was Troy, Ohio, 3 observers, clear night. I should have filmed it and put a red circle around it.
Damn it, Mike.
That's awesome.
If you didn't put a red circle around it, Mike, it didn't happen, buddy.
Hey, Chris. Yeah.
That's
hilarious, man.
You know what's funny? I actually got a message yesterday from a guy he messaged me on my TikTok page. I put all my, like all my podcast stuff on TikTok. And he messaged me and told me that when, like in the 90s, I think it was like 96, that they went on top of the roof of their house. Him and three or four of his buddies were up there just, smoking some weed. And it was like 11 o'clock at night. And when they saw a light in the sky and it was kind of green. And when they went back in the house to play video games, 5 hours had passed.
What?
Yeah. And yeah, this was just last night when he messaged me about it.
I've heard a couple stories like that time jump. There was when we had the guy on there from MUFON or something, I think he talked about it.
Yeah. It's wild.
Crazy.
Speaking of which, I'm trying to get him back on.
I wanted to go back to Mike's comment too, because that was one of the things that that Dr. Richard Greer said in his press release that he did. He said that a lot of the sightings that people see are like government recreations. Right. Like we took their technology, learned how to make our own. Yeah. And then that's what people are seeing a lot of times.
Yeah, reverse engineered all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I believe they have I believe a lot of the jumps we've made in technology is directly related to what they already have.
Yeah.
And they've had for years. And they're smart, because if they had just jumped into the deep, like the super high tech stuff that we have now, compared to back when, this all supposedly was collected, and it's probably still being collected as days go. We'd all be freaking out, like what the hell is going on? Like, how is this? This computer is like massive, and it's like 2 rooms full, and now we got these little things that we use as computers.
Yeah,
I used to watch Star Trek growing up.
That's a natural progression.
Yeah,
it's a natural progression.
Star Trek going up, and they're all walking around with their little pads, their computer linked pads.
Yeah,
we have them now.
That was the whole idea. Star Trek started the whole thing.
And it's one generation. It's not even like it took us 100 years to get there. Mm-hmm. It is wild. And the part that I thought was interesting was that he said a lot of it was left for us to copy and to learn from. So like that makes me think about all the people who are, as soon as we see an alien, we should nuke their craft. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that they would be like giving us their technology if they were planning on using it against us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless they wanted to make it a fair fight.
Yeah.
So they have morals, okay?
Well, there's a lot to them, like communicating with us telepathically, because I always kind of feel the people that have that kind of gift are sensitive people anyways. You know what I mean? They're more open-minded, and they're not going to go right to their gun and start shooting. They're going to listen and want to talk and learn. So they know that we're higher thinking people.
Yeah.
Technically, I mean, no offense but I think it's like they choose the people they want to communicate with that are making the attempt to speak with them. You know what I mean? So
yeah. It is such a crazy thing. I've literally always believed that. Like from the first time I ever learned about aliens or watched a movie, watched E.T. probably, I've always just felt like it's fine because they'll know I'm not an asshole. Yeah. They'll know I'm not going to hurt them, whatever. And it was crazy because a couple of weeks ago, I actually had a dream that an alien was in my front yard. And I was like, talking to it, whatever. And I ended up hiding it in my house because it was afraid. And I woke up and I was like, my kids and I always talk about our dreams and whatever. And I was telling them about this dream and I explained exactly what this alien looked like. And like to the T, like its arms were a little bit longer than ours, blah, blah, blah. And then some guy goes and posts some Ring doorbell footage of an alien in his backyard. And I was like, oh my God, it is to the T exactly what I saw in my dream. So I was like, maybe they can visit us in dreams like ghosts too.
Right.
True.
I don't see why not.
True.
I can't wait to catch scary stuff on my Ring doorbell in Flood Lake. We're getting
Did you get one?
We're getting one, yeah.
Oh, nice.
They're on Prime days, just so you know.
Oh, we got the doorbell because we live in a high crime zip code.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
I was out in your neighborhood today.
Mm-hmm.
You got robbed today in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
He was just like, I robbed your house today.
Yeah. This gentleman who robbed me looks suspiciously like Heisenberg.
He had a weed whacker with him.
I got a battery operated one that I take on the road with me.
His weapon of choice. Say they call him the whacker, but that doesn't sound good.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I said, no, I better not say it.
Oh,
I imagine we'll see a lot more, since pretty much everybody has Ring doorbell cameras now, and they're like,
I've been sent a few videos that people have already sent me, a couple of them, but it's so hard. I mean, a lot of times, this is like a ghost flying through the. I'm like, I think it's a bug. It looks totally like a mosquito.
I'm sure 95% of the stuff is bugs.
Yeah. I think it's your neighbor's dog running across the street.
The other thing that's hard too is that AI is so phenomenal right now. It's so hard to tell.
Right.
Of all the things of my fears that this AI thing coming to fruition is probably, it's giving me a lot of anxiety.
Yeah, see, that's more realistic than aliens.
Yeah. Self-aware.
Yeah.
They're self-aware, man.
Yeah.
There's so many movies about it. Like, do these nerds not watch movies?
Right. Well, I can say the same thing about people looking for aliens. I think we've seen a couple bad movies without that.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, here you go, Goose.
Can anyone explain to me what a skinwalker is? Any thoughts these could, if they exist, be aliens? Or is the lore that of like demonic spirit?
I really don't know what a skinwalker is, if it's a real creature or not. I would say it's probably something supernatural. That's what I would go with.
So do you think it's like actually shifting, or do you think that it's like, how they say that like spirits can show you what they want you to see? Do you think it's like our brains change it, or?
Well, like I told you about that story on my show with the guy with the 18-wheeler.
Right.
Where I'm sure your listeners didn't hear it. If they did, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. But one of my good friends, Walter, he had a guy started his job. He was driving a big truck, and Walter had a Bigfoot encounter here in Texas, and he asked the guy, because I ask all truck drivers, if I know you're a truck driver, I'm gonna ask you what's the weirdest thing you saw.
Yeah.
I do that every time too. I see what the talk to one.
Yeah. And and they got some great stories, and a lot of them are just dealing with people, right? But the guy didn't want to tell him. He says, "Well, I'll tell you my story first." Walter told the guy, and he told the guy his story. So the guy says, he was driving. I can't remember if it was Kentucky or Tennessee, and it was a wooded area. There were trees on both sides of the road, and he saw what looked like a big giant wolf walking on its hind legs, on two legs, on the side of the road, and it was so tall it was actually higher. Its head came above the the hood of the 18-wheeler. And when he passed it up, he looked in his mirror, his side mirror, to check it out, and it was a man. And so, I didn't get to thinking about this until really just like a few weeks ago. One of the guests that I had on told me, I wonder if it changed back or if it was just a reflection.
Right.
Yeah. So that was really interesting. I hadn't thought about it like that. But I mean, why would the guy just make up a story?
Right. Yeah. Skinwalkers are such a weird thing to me, because I feel like it means so many different things in so many different cultures, or like areas,
From everything that I've seen on the Skinwalker, it's really a Native American thing again. It's I've read a couple things where it's based off the Navajo. Navajo tribes, especially out in the Utah area where Skinwalker Ranch is and all that stuff. But they call it a term, and I can't pronounce it, so I'm not going to try, but that witch can be four-legged. So it's basically they're witches that can basically change their form into something animal-like. and they can curse the land, and they could, they're basically, I mean, mostly akin to like werewolf type thing.
Right. Okay.
But any animal.
Yeah, it could be any animal. There's actually,
But they are not to be confused with lizard people, because those are different.
Yeah.
What the fuck are we talking about?
I don't know anymore.
What a time to be alive. There's so many different things.
Yeah.
I know about Skywalker, not a Skinwalker.
Yeah. A little bit different.
There's a Navajo dance that they're portraying skinwalkers.
So, I mean, that's if they were a wolf.
Yeah.
And then transformed into a man. It's just, I mean, it's crazy to think that all these things could be out there
We should stop digging.
when we think that we know everything. You know what I mean? Like, humans are just so conceited, and we think we know everything, and we think we've seen everything, and people are like, oh, there's no way that could exist because I've never seen it. Well, there's shit washing up on shore from the depths of the sea all the time that looks like it's
giant squids,
and they've been living there for 1 million years, and we never knew about them.
Right.
There's so many possibilities.
Exactly, Tina.
Yeah, Tina, that's what I'm saying.
But we have fun trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
We never will. I don't know if we ever will. I mean, maybe. I think there are some people that know that are keeping it a secret.
For sure.
For reasons. But
well, so it's Men in Black.
Yeah.
Where Tommy Lee Jones is trying to explain, like, a person is rational, but people are not. So, like, if you tell people, like, hey, there's aliens living on our planet, then they'd panic and they would, just be stupid, because that's what people do. So I'm sure there's.
I panic for sure.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
Yeah, we know you would. Yeah, let him. Yeah. If leprechauns come out to be true, Heisenberg. Yeah.
Well, kick one.
He's gonna leave the paranormal field.
They're very strong. Like, just because they're tiny doesn't mean they're not strong.
So.
Yeah.
And like, the creepiest part for me of that story was that it was laughing the whole time it was chasing him.
See, I don't like. I think I would fall. So my only thing is I gotta turn around and fight it. Because I'm not coordinated enough to run through the woods.
Yeah.
So I would run right into a tree.
So instead of flight or fight, it's going to be fall and fight.
Yeah.
It's going to be fall or fight. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Well, I'm going to take on a leprechaun. You know what? I might take on Wendigo too. I don't know. I don't know what's going on that day.
How tall are Wendigos? Like 10 feet?
So?
Sure. Why not?
As long as he's got his mighty weed whacker, he'll be
right.
Right.
He'll hold his hand out. He'll hold his hand out like Thor, and it'll come to him.
You see it shaking?
Oh my
God! Yeah, you are worthy. You are worthy.
I'm an idiot. I'd probably try to pet it.
Come here, Wendigo.
You know what? That's fine with me. We say,
we just scratch behind those big ears. Stupid.
Oh my god. So we're talking about all these cryptids that could be real or supernatural or alien. What's your take on Bigfoot? Do you think it's a supernatural thing, or like a flesh and bone creature? Do you think it's an alien? What's your take?
I'm still in the flesh and blood camp. I've always been from the get go. I now can kind of change that stance, because I used to never even entertain that it was anything else.
Yeah.
But my opinions have kind of changed a little bit in the thinking that there's actually just more out there than just Bigfoot. That there's actually are other entities, whether it be paranormal or supernatural or even alien. I think there is like a extraterrestrial being that looks like a Bigfoot. But I don't think that Bigfoot itself is an alien that jumps through the portals and cloaks and reads.
So they're not all like Chewbacca, because that's
right.
What I was thinking.
Yeah. That's I think that the Bigfoot that I'm looking for is flesh and blood.
Hmm.
But that's not to say that I don't call anyone a liar, like I said, because I know people who have told me. I've family members that have told me, several of them were together when they saw this creature disappearing right in
Yeah.
front of their eyes. There was like
Yeah.
14 of them actually. So
Wow.
yeah, they all chased the damn thing. Crazy Mexican people, right? Um, yeah, yeah.
That's funny.
And this certain branch of my cousins, they're like super crazy. So when they told me this story, I'm like, I'm not even surprised.
Yeah.
I'm
Like,
not
get
even
it,
surprised.
get it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
But
there have been a lot of
Anybody have a
people
bag?
who there have been a lot of people who report like, those it's a Bigfoot sighting and a UFO sighting like at the same time.
right,
And it makes
Yeah.
them think that that's how
right.
Bigfoot left was in the UFO.
Yeah, and the same thing goes with the paranormal aspect. People are hearing voices,
Hmm.
hearing footsteps, hearing
Yeah.
things snap and pop in the woods, and to me, in my opinion, there's a lot of paranormal stuff in the world in general. So,
Hmm.
why would the
Yeah.
woods be any different? We don't know what went on in these woods years ago.
Right.
Uh,
That's true.
like it's probably 6 or 7 years ago. Had to be right about 2017 because that's when I moved to San Antonio. And before I left, I wanted to go make one more trip. Well, actually, I was kind of going through some bad stuff in my head, and I went to the woods, and I was going down a trail, and I had a rock bounce off the bill of my cat. You know, and right away, I was like, "That was a damn Bigfoot." I mean, what else throwing rocks at me, right? You know,
Yeah,
But
naturally.
like I said, as I've gotten older and opened my mind up a little bit more, um, I think it was probably something more paranormal than anything.
Hmm.
Because out in that particular area, it used to be a lot of iron ore, so there was like a mining camp out in that area. So
Okay.
who knows what went on in these mining camps? Yeah,
Right.
you're on my
Right.
property, you're on my
Yeah.
claim. Yeah,
Right.
these were like men, like real
Yeah.
men, you
Yeah.
know.
But there also was a lot of death in those kind of camps.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
mining is a dangerous job.
right,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
And
it would,
and illnesses, you
I
right.
wouldn't
outgrow.
survive past like 2 years old. Maybe not even make it that far back then.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that was a really tough job.
yeah,
And then the other thing too, you said you were in a bad place and you were going there to clear your head. Who
right.
knows? It could have been one of your ancestors. Like, get your shit together. You know what I
You know
mean?
what?
Yeah,
I never thought about that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've never, and that would even make even more sense to me because during that time, uh, my dad was around, and because he passed away in 2012. But right about that time, for like 2 years, from 2017 to 2019, he was like around, and I really felt him, and he made his presence
Hmm.
known.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so I don't ask me how, but I just knew when he was around,
Hmm.
and so I was upstairs at the condo I was at, and my daughter was downstairs. She was washing clothes, and I had a pile of clothes. I'm like, oh, that I wanted to give to her, and so I just threw it down and said, "Hey, wash this for me." And right where the stairway goes down, there's a light switch that lights up the hall. Well, it flicked on right next to me. I heard it flick, and the light came on in the hallway, right? And so when I moved back here to Houston, I was in my mom's house, and I was in the kitchen, the house that I grew up in. Um, I'm in the kitchen, and she's like standing on the other side of the counter. It's actually like a bar, and she's on the other side. And I was telling her that Dad's always around me. So what I was telling her, um, and I told her about that incident about the light switch. But right when I
Yeah.
told her that, the light switch in the kitchen flicked on, and the light came
Stop
on.
it.
Yeah, and
Nice.
that time I have a witness. Me and her both
Yeah.
saw and heard it.
Right.
Yeah, we
Wow.
both saw and heard it. So,
That's
and I know he was always around me. And once I got out of that funk I was in, which is another crazy story in itself, um, he's kind of made his way around the family, like my nephew and my niece. And so in 2022, my mom turned 72. We had a party for her. It was on a Sunday, and we had a mariachi band come right and play
yeah.
for her.
Nice.
So um, that was on a Sunday. On that Monday, my dad's twin brother and my aunt and my brother and my niece were all going to go to the cemetery, to go visit my dad's grave site. Which I don't go to the grave sites just because I don't believe that's where they're at.
Right.
Like I said, my dad's always around. Why am
Same.
I going over there? So that's
Yeah.
why I don't go. But anyway, they're like extremely religious, which is fine. And so they wanted to go, but it started raining real bad Mondays. So I called him on that Tuesday. I called my brother and I said, "Hey, did you wind up going to the cemetery after all?" And he's like, "No, we didn't wind up going. It was raining and it was, it gets real muddy over there because where they have him is way in the back." And so I was like, "Okay." He says, "But I got a crazy story." He said, "Maddie, which is my niece, at that time she was 15. He's like, she came up to me at the party and was like, 'Hey, I keep hearing Grandpa's voice.'" And he's like, "Well, what do you?" He's like, "What are you hearing?" And he's like, "She told me that she heard him say he was glad that she was having a party, that he was proud of us for having a party, and that she deserves that party. That
Aw.
So I was like, "Oh, well, that's cool." He goes, "Yeah, but that's not the weirdest part." He says, "When I talked to Uncle James, like I said, which is my dad's twin brother, on Monday about canceling the trip to the cemetery, he goes, 'Hey, your Aunt Patty at the party was hearing your dad's voice.'"
Oh,
And he told my Aunt Patty the same thing. Basically,
Wow.
he told her that he was glad that she had the party, that she deserved it, and that when her time comes, he'd be waiting for her. Now, my Aunt Patty and my niece, neither one of them knew the other one had heard this.
oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah. So that was pretty cool. I was just
That
like,
is
I don't know why
cool.
he didn't come and talk to me, But anyway, I guess he had in some ways, prior to that. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was a
Yeah.
pretty cool story, man. And
Yeah.
it kind of blew me away.
That's awesome.
But what a better way to show you his presence known by having two separate people,
Right.
or
Right.
his presence there by having two
Yeah.
separate people.
Yeah.
To say the same thing too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Mhm.
And I mean, who knows? Maybe he tried, but you were busy. You were in your own head.
Well,
Your
like I said,
thoughts were drowning it out.
I always knew he was there, and I knew he was trying to help me out through that period. So I knew that much, And like I said,
Mhm.
I don't have any proof. I don't have any red circles or anything, but I know he was there. I could just feel him when he was around, And
Right.
I would just say, I would just talk to him out loud. "Hey, Dad, I know you're here. Thanks for
Right.
coming." Yeah, so stuff like
Yeah.
that.
I think in the paranormal, people really forget about their own loved ones all the time.
Mhm.
They wonder why they have similar experiences at all these different haunted locations. You know what I mean? Like Goose, for example, has a Jeff Fent spirit box that he takes on every investigation that he goes on, and every time he turns it on, it says, "Hey, Goose." I don't think that every single spirit at every single location knows his name and knows to say that. I think that he just has somebody with him
Right.
who, as soon as the box gets turned on,
He's like,
says
"Hey."
fine,
And it's
Right, yeah.
usually the same voice, just kind of really chill and just like, "Hey,
Right.
Goose," like
Hmm.
just letting me know he's there, and
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm
Cool.
always trying to remind people, about like don't forget about your own grandma or your own,
Right.
there's
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
there's your own loved ones are responsible for a lot of paranormal stuff too. So
Yeah,
maybe it
my
was
aunt says they see my grandma all the time
Really.
yeah.
because they live in her house.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's cool. Yeah. My grandfather's house, it's still standing. It is well taken care of. My cousin lives there, and I asked her, like last year, I said, "Hey, did you guys ever experience anything or see anything?" And she's like, "No." She goes, she told me that one of her sons said that they saw my grandpa one time.
Oh, wow.
But yeah.
Yeah. Me and so I used to sleep at my grandparents' house all the time. We were super close. And after my grandpa passed away, I was looking on top of this hutch, which actually I have the hutch now. There's lights inside of it, and I couldn't figure out how to turn off the lights. I was trying to go to sleep, and I stood on a chair and I saw my grandpa's ashes, which obviously was very sad. Um, and then I went to sleep, and I always would sleep on the couch. And I woke up in the middle of the night, and my grandpa was walking down the hallway. Totally forgot that I had just found his ashes. And it was just such a normal thing. He would wake up in the middle of the night, he would come out and check on me, we'd talk, whatever, he'd go back to bed. So I was talking to him and I was just like, he just asked me, like, "Are you okay? Do you need anything? Can I get anything for you?" Which was normal questions. And then he looked over his left shoulder, like down the hallway, and he said, "I have to go now, but I just wanted to tell you that I love you." And I was like, "Okay. I mean, I love you too. I don't know why you have to go right now, but okay." And then, I just go back to watching TV or whatever. And it took me a good 5-10 minutes to be like, oh shit. Like, that was not my grandpa. I was telling my mom about it. And she said that her and my grandma had that exact same thing happen, but in a dream. He had come to them in a dream. He was talking to them in their own house. He looked over his left shoulder and said, I have to go. I just wanted to tell you that I love you. So it was wild because, like, all of us had the same experience. They were sleeping. I was in his house, but it was the same thing. It was like, I felt so validated because it wasn't just me. It wasn't just me being crazy,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really cool story. My uncle has kind of a similar story with my grandmother. She had passed away, and she had been gone maybe 2 or 3 months. And my uncle, which my dad's twin brother, he was uh, he was feeling really bad one night or one evening, and he told my aunt, you know what, I'm gonna go to bed. He was kind of depressed a little bit, so she's like, okay, go ahead, go to sleep. So he goes to bed really early and lays down and goes to sleep. And my aunt's up. She's messing around the house, cleaning up, whatever, washing dishes. And she finishes that and decides she's going to go lay down with my uncle. Well, she gets into the room and she sees my grandmother leaning over my uncle and gives him a kiss.
Mm.
And then she disappears, right? Well, like 4 or 5 days later goes by, and my uncle tells my aunt, he's like in a good mood. He's really happy. And he tells my aunt, I had a dream that night I was feeling bad that my mom came to kiss me. And my aunt told my uncle,
Wow.
no, I saw her do that.
Yeah,
She was
wasn't
yeah,
a dream.
yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah.
That's cool.
And
I
then
definitely believe that they can, communicate in dreams. I feel like that's
how I see my mom. I've never seen her I've never had the ghostly experience with her.
Mhm.
I've heard her call my name a couple of times, like a disembodied voice. Like I was having a hard time sleeping because I was stressed out. So it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I hear Raymond. I'm like, shit. So 2 o'clock in the morning when I'm already having like hard time sleeping, it kind of, it did freak me out a little bit. But
yeah.
I went to bed and I ended up having a dream, and she was in there. We were just talking like it was another day, like normal mom and Raymond talk.
Yeah.
She visits me all the time and in different ways in my dreams. So it's like that's the way we communicate.
Mhm.
I do go and visit her grave, especially if I don't make special trips, but if I'm in the area or passing through, even if I'm working, I always stop and just pay respects to her remains. But I don't think she's there. I don't think she needs me to be there. But it's more of a respect thing, kind of.
Right. Yeah. Another really strange story. One of my uncles, he had passed away, and my dad and my uncle, my dad's twin brother, they were going to be, they were two of the pallbearers, and they were like, my dad and my uncle were like, you know what, let's wear the same kind of suit, that he's going to wear. That way we all have the same kind of suit. And they asked the guy at the funeral home, hey, can we get a piece of the suit so we can go match it? He's like, yeah, of course. So he cuts him off just like a little square piece,
right?
And he gives it to him. And my dad actually had it. And they go to the place, and it was already late at night, and they were about to close. But the guy measured them and everything, and made their suits and tailored it for them. And when my dad went to go try on the suit, um, he gave that little piece of cloth to my uncle. Said, "Here, hold on to it while I go try it on." He said, "Okay." So my dad goes, tries on the suit, fits him. He comes back. They pay for the suits. They leave. Like I said, the store's already closed, and they're going down the freeway, and they're pretty far away. And my dad asked my uncle, "Hey, do you have that piece of material?" "Oh no, I left it over there." And my dad was like, "Man, I really wanted it just to kind of hold on to it, and keep it,
Right.
just for like a little keepsake." And the funeral happens and stuff like that. And my uncle, he just told me the story very recently, within the last, I don't know, 6, 7 months. And he said that, months later go by, and my dad called him and was like, hey, whatever happened to that little piece of cloth that I gave you? He goes, oh, I left it over there. I told you that. And he says, well, I'm looking at it right now, and it was on my dad's dresser.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
See, and I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just
And this was like months later, like 3,
right,
4 months
Yeah.
later, How come my
right,
dad, not remember or see that piece of cloth?
right. It was
Right.
sitting there for
Yeah.
months, and he
Yeah.
just forgot.
Yeah.
No,
It's crazy.
So, yeah,
and I
that's
want. Okay. My brain is always like, how? Like, I don't. Maybe it's just like immature thinking, but like, does it disappear and go somewhere else and then appear on the dresser, or is it like making a super long journey, just slowly going across the ground? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just
Just like
floating
that.
around in the air. Yeah,
Yeah.
just or like with the wind.
Is that why it took months to get there? Because it actually has to physically travel all the
Like
way to
like an
your dad's
inchworm.
dresser?
Yeah, like an inchworm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Fighting
I always
traffic,
wonder about stuff like
not
that.
run over. Yeah, stuff like that.
Right.
The
Did it have
rain.
tire tracks on it and
Yeah,
dirt and
yeah.
I
Holes
don't
and
know.
yeah,
I just always think about stuff like that.
yeah.
Because stuff will get moved for me my whole life. That's always happened.
Yeah, it happens a lot for me.
So I just wonder, like, could you walk into a room and they didn't know you were coming in and see something floating
buddy.
across the sky, or across the air? Like,
Would you yell, aha?
busted.
Circle, circle, circle it.
I gotcha.
Do my circle.
That's funny. That's a funny thought.
It's gotta be magic though. I don't know.
Yeah.
And you think, the experts, which obviously there's no experts, but the experts always say that it takes so much energy for them to do something. So like getting that little piece of fabric all the way to your dad's dresser was like such a big thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or was it? Was it a big thing? Maybe he took it right then and said, "You know what? I'm gonna give him this at the right time."
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
And it's just an amazing little reminder, like, hey, I see you. I'm still here. Thanks, George.
Thanks, buddy.
We appreciate you so much.
Hey, George.
Thanks, Sprinkles.
George loves rainbow sprinkles, Joe. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, yeah.
No, I follow him on Facebook, so I see all the
He takes them on trips with him, so he can make sure he always has them.
I had a reminder the other night. He posted a picture of some sundaes him and I believe his daughter got, and it was covered in sprinkles. I'm like, yep. I know which one is George's. The dude was talking about putting on macaroni and cheese, man. We love you.
Yeah. Yeah. He really loves sprinkles.
Oh, goodness.
But yeah, I love hearing stories like that. And I guess that's kind of why I got so much into the paranormal, because the thought of like leaving someday and not being able to see my kids and not be able to give them reminders that I love them and, to not be there to support them, I don't like that at all. Yeah. So stories like that really make me hopeful, that that's not the end, and I can still do little things for them, and I can still, be there to witness events, life events that I might have missed out on. And I don't know, I think that's why a lot of people want to believe in the afterlife, because nobody wants this to just be done and that's it.
Right.
I think some people do. They're weird.
I don't.
I think about that all the time too, because I'm like, man, I want my mom to be around, because she missed so much of my daughters growing up. She was so sick, like when they were really like older and starting to get interesting. I mean, they were always interesting, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They started doing things like
talk about your boring children, right?
Yeah. Well, no, they started doing things that like the grandparents could go watch and see, like choir and band and all this stuff, and she didn't get to do any of that. So it's like I always felt like, or I tried to actually, almost felt like I was trying to conjure her to be there with me, to be like, Mom, be here and watch this with me, please.
Yeah.
Like, and it was like it was right when my daughter's last like it was like 4th grade, right when she was leaving elementary school. They did a big choir concert, and they did this Journey song, and she was up there like just grooving it, singing it. And I'm like, I think at that moment she was channeling my mom and her grandma because my mom would do the exact same thing anytime she heard Journey. She'd be all like, yeah, just like dancing and singing. I'm like, she's got her grandma with her right now.
Yeah.
I started, and obviously I'm in the going like bawling, just like watching it. I'm like, oh my God.
I cry at every school event for my children. Every school event.
My daughter started marching band, and that was such a big part of my high school life and social scene. I mean, it sounds dorky, but I don't. Whatever. Our band was huge, and her band was huge, and you know, the bands in both of our schools were pretty well respected. So, you know, just seeing when she starts like all that, like that excitement that I remember from my high school career, and like she's getting to like feel it, and she's actually changed. Like she's done such a huge turn with like her anxiety and her like shyness. She's so much more outgoing. It's like as soon as she got back from her first summer at band camp, she was a totally different girl.
Yeah.
She had friends and she was doing yeah. None of that. None of that. None of that. She knows better to tell me that kind of story, but I sit there and I think I know my mom would be. I hope my mom's here with me. I hope she's watching this.
I'm sure she is.
I think she is. She is.
Yeah.
You know, my dad's not around as much anymore, but I'm okay with that. You know, I really am. You know, because I kind of feel that he was babysitting me a little bit. I don't want him to do that.
Yeah, and I think they know. I mean, it's their parental thing. They know when you need them, and then when it's time to back off, they move on to the next family member that needs them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So,
she's too busy partying with her sisters because, you know, because they're all I only have one aunt of like nine brothers and sisters left. So they're all up there watching us partying, doing polka and all kinds of stuff.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, sorry about that. Like, you know, so like I said, during that 2017 to 2019, I was kind of in a bad spot mentally and emotionally. And I got to, you know, alcohol pretty bad, and I knew I needed to quit. But in 2019, right at the end, like in October, my friend, they were in South Carolina. He calls me up, and he's like, "Hey, you know, Stacy's thinking about you. She's like really worried about you, and she's like sick in bed thinking about you." I'm like, "Okay," and he's like, "She wants to talk to you." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, cool." You know, he goes, "We don't tell anybody. We keep this very quiet, but she's like extremely psychic, you know." And I said, "Okay."
Yeah.
So talked to her, got her on the phone, and we're talking, and she's like, "Joe, are you going through this and through that? Is this going on?" And she said, "Is there alcohol involved?" I'm like, "Yeah, there is." And you know, I mean, she was like nailing all this stuff, right?
Wow.
And she's like, "Is there anybody that you know would put a hex on you?" And I'm like, "No, I don't think so." And she mentioned the name.
Weird.
And when she said the name, it was like, boom, right? I was like, oh, yeah, definitely that person would do that. And because this person actually deals with like black magic and stuff. And I've known this person to like literally have like up on her little mantle, people's names and stuff that she was trying to put shit on.
Oh my gosh.
And I said, she sure as hell would, you know, because this is when it started, right?
Yeah.
And like for 2 years, I felt like I was like in the fog. It could be bright and shiny and beautiful day, and I felt like I was like in this fog. And she said, "Don't worry." She goes, "I'm gonna fix it for you right now." And she goes, "In a couple of days, you're gonna be back to your old self." So okay. 2 days later, man, I felt like a completely different person.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And
that's awesome.
That got me onto my spiritual journey that I'm still on now, you know. And like I never thought I would deal with like crystals and tarot cards and pendulums and
neither did I, but here I am.
All that stuff is behind me, you know, and so
wow.
Here we are, I should say.
Like I said, she was in South Carolina and she was thinking about that, you know. And she was everything she was saying was, you know, she was nailing it right on the head, you know.
Where did she get the information? Was it your dad who told her?
I don't know. It may have been. I never asked her. She never told me, other than that she was really, really psychic, and you know, she and like I didn't, and I had known them for like 5 or 6 years at this point, and I never knew this about them. And they were like, we don't tell anybody. We keep it very quiet.
Wow.
You know.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was like, okay, cool, thanks. You know, and you helped me out. You know. And they were,
That's crazy.
Yeah.
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 I don't understand why people do that. You know, I've heard a lot of stories about people doing dark magic towards somebody. You
Yeah.
know, I just that shit comes back to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. You know, I just hope I'm there when it comes back because I would love to be there. But I don't wish nothing bad on anybody because I don't want it coming
Right.
back on me. But you know, when it
Right.
does happen, I want to be front row and center.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there definitely is a difference between, you know, wishing something bad would happen and, you know, just hoping you get to witness it if it does.
Yeah, if it does, universe,
Yeah.
you know, put me in the right spot.
Totally different.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally is.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah.
Two different things. Apples and oranges. Yeah, I don't think I could ever get behind
And
that.
and prior to that, I would never believe in any of this stuff. Never. And now that I've opened myself up, I see so much more stuff. And like I meditate, every day just about, and
Yeah,
So
that's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you were receptive to it because I feel like that's one of those things that no matter how
have to
hard
be.
she did her magic, if you didn't believe it, it's not gonna work as well.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
even at that time, I wouldn't say I believed it. I would just say, you know what, do what you're gonna do. I'm
Yeah.
gonna sit back and watch and let it happen if it happens. And
Yeah.
I wasn't like gonna reject it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that was like the main thing. And then after that, I was like, holy shit, And then slowly but surely, I started doing more and more stuff on my own and seeing more and more better results for myself. And that's my life that I live now. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's something, I talk about it all the time. Even, I have a mental health podcast and I talk about it on there all the time too. People totally underestimate what you are capable of doing when your thoughts and your intentions and
Right.
just the vibe that you put out is in the right place. Like you can do so much more than people ever give themselves credit for.
Yeah.
And when you're constantly focused on the negative, then that's what you're going to get because that's what the universe is like. Okay, I'm going to associate her with negativity.
Right.
And that's what's going to come. It's pretty amazing.
What, negativity?
No, positivity. It doesn't, and it's not even just like about like karma or like good things happening to you or whatever. It's like your general health is so much better when you're in a good place, mentally.
Sure.
Like there's so much is affected by it. People
and I have a good friend of mine that she helps me out, and we talk about this all the time. That I think even your negative stuff, you can unintentionally put that on somebody else.
Yes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So,
Yeah.
And like I said, I know something was put on me intentionally and with with complete malice, but I think even unintentionally, you can put something on somebody else.
Especially, I feel like jealousy.
Yeah. Awful, right?
Yeah, because if you think about it, if you're jealous, you're wishing that person didn't have whatever it is that you're jealous of, right? So you're wishing subconsciously that they didn't have that thing. They didn't get that promotion. They didn't whatever it is. And so you're putting out negative intentions. Like it is. I don't know what that noise was. I don't know if you guys heard that. That was
I heard it.
I thought it was
okay.
Okay.
It was
I thought somebody said something to you.
No.
I heard like a creak. I heard like a creak, right? What was it?
It was a big bang outside. I don't know what it was.
If anybody's there, can you play the piano?
I should just lock my door.
Maybe it's a leprechaun.
The door is right here. I mean,
dude, lock your door.
My dog's barking upstairs. I don't know what's happening.
Red circle that noise. Yeah, there you go.
Let me just take a
Or red circling audio now, huh? I've actually seen that too. like people like showing you the sound waves of an EVP and they like circle it
Right.
in the animation as it's going through. I'm like,
Yeah.
I either hear it or I don't, man. You don't have to
Right.
show me where it's at.
Right.
But yeah,
That's
you're
funny.
right. You can definitely put your negativity on somebody else. That's
Yeah.
100% real.
And as we all know, if you have any sensitivity at all, you can definitely absorb negativity that
Oh God, yeah.
Right.
without knowing that you're doing it from other people. Even
There's
people
people
that you
I
don't
just
know.
there's people I
People you
just
don't know.
cannot be around because they are like energy vampires, and as soon as I'm around
Yep.
them, it's like just instantly kills my mood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand
It's
that.
like
It's
like
Heisenberg.
vampires. Yeah.
I was gonna say it's you guys.
I keep looking at this window behind him. I'm like,
Man, don't
see
talk about the window behind me.
Everybody
I'm
sees
My friend
something in the
Ashley
window
does that all
behind
the
them.
time too.
I know
gonna
Ashley does that to me all the time.
Yeah, I'm gonna circle it here in a second.
Yeah.
Now I got this chair that goes higher. I can hide from it though.
Yeah.
You can't see me. You can't get me.
Right.
We did a show one time, Joe, and the shelf that's behind me, I have like little puck lights that go on it. And I had just gotten the shelf put up, and so I had the lights on, and we're doing the show one night, or maybe it was I don't know, but I'm just sitting here, and my lights like start to gradually turn off, like one at a time, and there's like 10 lights up there, so I'm like, what the fuck is happening? But I realized they were on a 2-hour timer, so as it got close to the show being done, it was 2 hours, so they were starting to turn off one at a time in the order that I turned them on.
There you go.
I'll hide that window.
Maybe Joe could print you a Cryptic Paranormal Show banner to cover your window, so you
No,
don't
I
have
want to
to
put like a
hear
little
them.
like a little face to put there.
Yeah.
A little
Even
leprechaun
better.
face.
I got the Madison window I need to put in there.
You got a Madison window?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you
nice.
wanted it at the MadCon thing because they had it covered in lottery tickets.
Yeah.
No, I didn't win that. They didn't have that when I won it.
Oh.
Shelly gave it to me.
Nice.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
Shelly's awesome.
She's the best.
I was like, I go, I've always wanted a window. And she's like, here you go.
We're gonna have to
I mean,
start
what they
getting
can do is
outdoors
probably
at
throw them
that
out
time.
anyways, right? If they don't get
They're
rid of
just
them.
sitting there. They're just sitting there in the room.
But I'm gonna put it up there. I'm not gonna actually change the window out, obviously, but be a little bit drafty, I think.
Yeah. So, Joe, do you do any paranormal investigations?
I've gone on a couple, but as far as like do I search them out? No, I don't. I got invited to the Hinsdale house, so I'll go to that one. But I went to the Mineral Wells, which is here in Texas, and we didn't have a lot of activity. We had some. This guy had this little penguin, and on top of the little penguin had this little fiber optics hair, you know.
Oh yeah.
And he actually got it from his kid. His kid got it for like Christmas or birthday gift or whatever. He said when he saw it, he said, "No, that's mine,"
Yeah.
because when you turn it on and you rub the hairs on it, it goes off and lights and plays little
Oh
music.
wow. Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
So, yeah, so we went to the room where the little boy like lived in, and we sat it on top of a chair right there. And the whole time we're just standing there looking at it, talking amongst, whispering to ourselves, and nothing's ever happening. And everybody goes off to the next room, and I said, I'm gonna stand right here and just stare at this thing. So I'm there staring at it, and sure enough, that little thing starts going off. And I got my phone out, so I recorded it and
Yeah.
filmed it going off by itself. So that was pretty cool. And he actually built his own little boxes. I don't know what you call them, spirit boxes. You talk and
Yeah.
ask questions, and the voices come out, right? And he was showing it to me, and he showed me all the bells and whistles, right? He says, I'm just going to go upstairs. I'm going to do a session. And I said, well, can I go up there with you? And a voice came through that box and said, come up.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah.
Love
Nice.
it.
that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. Yeah. And
That's
then,
fun.
So then you were like, "Oh, I don't know, maybe I'll just stay here."
no, I
Right.
went up there. And you know what? That was where he left the little penguin up there, as a matter of fact. Yeah. So we
Okay.
actually did, that happened first. And
Nice.
then there's like a Civil War cemetery outside of Houston in this forested area. It's not like too far outside of Houston. It's like a maybe 30-minute drive. And the guys at work, there were actually a bunch of kids. They were like, "Hey, we're gonna go to this cemetery, and we heard about it." And I was like, "Okay, I'll go with you guys." I'm like the old man of the group, and So they're all like, man, some of the guys were actually in high school still. And
Oh, jeez.
so we're walking through the woods, man. We cross some railroad tracks and we get to this field. It's a little clearing. We walk through that clearing. We get to the woods and we actually found like a homeless camp. Nobody was there, thank
Oh.
God, but we could tell
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was still very much lived in. I mean, you could tell that whoever was there had just left, or
Wow.
I mean, it was very big. I bet about 20 people at least lived there, and we were like,
Wow.
we need to get the hell out of here because if they
Yeah.
come back and we're here, it's gonna be some shit, So we're walking back, and we get to that clearing, and fog starts rolling in, and then we start seeing the headstones, the little placards, headstones that have been there from the
Yeah.
Civil War. We didn't see
Oh,
them
wow.
going in. We saw
Wow.
them coming out
with the
That's crazy.
fog. Yeah.
with the fog. Yeah, yeah. That was the weirdest thing. So,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
And then, then the house I lived in was very had a lot of activity in there. Me and my kids, we've all been poked or touched or heard voices,
Yeah.
saw figures. Um, I was sitting on the edge of the bed one day. I was getting ready to go to work, and I was, still trying to wake up, contemplating my life decisions that I had made. And I felt somebody jab me in the ribs. And you ever messing with somebody, kind of like poke them in the ribs a little bit.
Yeah.
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 Exactly what happened. I felt that poke right in the
Jeez.
ribs. And when we first moved into that house, um, I was laying in bed, and it was maybe with that first 3 or 4 days, and I felt the bed go down. And at the time, I had a boxer, so I thought it was him, and he knew he
Mhm.
wasn't allowed on the bed. So I sat up. I was gonna be like, "Get your ass off the bed," but there was nobody there. And then a few days later, it happened again, and I sat up because I thought it was
Oh, shit.
him,
Yeah.
and there was nobody there. So I went into the kitchen, and they were making breakfast, and I was like, "This house is haunted," and everybody's like, "Yeah, it is. It is." Right off the bat.
They're like, no shit. You're just figuring it out.
Yeah, and at that time, I mean, we had been there maybe 2 weeks at the most,
Yeah.
and all my kids, well, my 3 kids were telling me this happened to me and this happened to me, and my oldest was like, I was in bed, I was on my phone, and her closet was long, but like long ways. It wasn't like like
Yeah.
a walk-in, and
Yeah.
they had like those what do you call those doors that kind of fold?
Bifold
Bifold
doors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
So her closet was like all the way open, and she said it was like someone took a picture of her, a flash, and there's not
Yeah.
even a light bulb in that. Like sometimes a light go off, it'll
Right.
pop,
Right.
whatever,
Right.
but there's not even a light in there.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and then my son, he had just graduated, and he was waiting to ship off to the Marines at that time, and um, he called me, and I was at work. He's like, "Dad, the weirdest thing just happened." He said, I'm sitting on the couch, I'm watching TV. He says, and I catch some movement out of my right side, peripheral vision. He goes, when I turned, he saw this figure, like a smoky gray figure of a person that was kind of squatted down a little bit and had its finger reached out to him like that and touched him on his arm. He goes,
Yeah, I'd be throwing shit at that, man. Like,
he said when it touched him on the arm, that all his hair stood up on his arm, and then
yeah,
it just disappeared.
Oh my gosh.
And
see,
then,
that's okay seeing that outside, but in my house,
Yeah.
like outside your window right now, the one looking in.
It's
not
circle.
gonna, no. Why? I don't even know why. It's blocked.
Oh.
I saw something there. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Well, you can see something go back and forth sometimes.
I saw the face press up against the glass.
Oh,
It's a ghost. We don't know how.
Yeah.
It just happened.
Next week he'll be facing the other way so he can keep an eye on
Yeah.
the window.
Right.
So your kids weren't scared? They like never brought it up to you until you said something to them?
Right. And then this one night, we were man, it was like maybe midnight, and my oldest came out of her room. She's like, "Dad, there was like a black shadow in one corner of the room," and she goes, "And I saw it go to the other corner." And she said that it didn't really scare her, but it freaked her out, right? And
Yeah.
everything there kind of freaked us out, Like I said, when I kicked at that shadow that was there, and that was a lady because I saw her dress. It was in the shape of
Yeah.
a woman, right? And I don't care if you're a ghost or not, a woman, I'm gonna throw a kick at you, right? But in all honesty, I don't think anything that was there was trying to scare us.
Right.
It was, but it's unnerving for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
so at this time I was like just started doing my Bigfoot research stuff, and I told my son, I said, hey, go get my recorder. I had never done an EVP session in my life, right?
Yeah,
And I said, we're gonna do one, right? So we're all in the living room,
nice.
huddled up, game planning. And I happened to look up, and I saw my son coming out of my daughter's room, and he's like white as a ghost. And he has a recorder. Said, Dad, you got to hear this. You got to hear this. And we're all huddled around it, and he hits play, and we're listening, and you can hear him say, "Is there anybody here with us?" And you hear a voice go, "Yeah," just like that. Yeah,
Oh,
and that
nice.
freaked us out. We were like, "Holy cow!" And
Yeah.
then, but like I said, nothing was ever trying to scare us or you know, uh,
See that
whatever.
that would freak me out, but then I'm like, would they have a conversation with me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We
Yeah.
had
So I'd be
and then
trying to probably talk to them.
I don't talk to anything
Right.
in my house. I don't
Well,
like
I
them
don't
to
either, but
talk to me.
I'm not allowed to.
No.
I don't think I'm really allowed to either.
so then life happens, right? And I'm no longer living in that
Yeah.
house. I'm living somewhere else, but my kids are still there. And my daughter calls me up. She's like, "Hey, Dad, I made some duck tacos." So like back in that time, I was like big into hunting. I had hog, duck, squirrel, rabbit,
Yeah. Oh, nice.
deer. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the deep freeze, and I told my daughter, I said, "Look, I can't take this with me. Cook everything that you can, whatever. I don't want the meat to go bad." So she called me up one day. "Hey, Dad, I made some duck tacos. If you want to come by and grab some?" I said, "Hell yeah."
Yum.
I was driving by, and her boyfriend at the time was there, and we're kind of talking amongst ourselves, and she's like, "He doesn't believe me about the house." So I'm like, "Dude." So we're like telling him all our stories, and I told him, I said, "Yeah, the kitchen faucet comes on, the faucet in the shower comes on. The one in the shower, it had that big knob that you got to like pull out and then turn, for hot or cold, whatever,
Yeah.
right?"
Yeah.
And so that the shower would come on, right? And then, so we're telling him this, and he's just kind of looking at us like we're crazy, right? He doesn't believe us. And the faucet in the kitchen comes on. I mean, just right on cue.
Yeah.
Right.
He turns around and he looks at it, and we start laughing. He walks over to the sink. He turns it off. He opens up the cabinets on the bottom. He's looking underneath it. He's
Right.
looking all around.
Like a
trying to
remote
figure out.
control or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Right.
He
Yeah.
did that on purpose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because at that time he was like into construction and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's what he did for a living. He did construction and electrical work, so he knew all
Oh,
about
okay.
how everything
Yeah.
worked. So he was
Yeah.
trying to figure out how that faucet came on. Yeah,
Wow.
Probably perplexed him for
Especially right,
days. He's
Yeah.
probably
right
at
when
work
you're
going,
talking about it. That's crazy.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
That was pretty
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
It's got like one of those drawing boards with
yeah,
like
with all the.
pins and like
Yeah.
strings all over the place.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. But my
That's
daughter
funny.
called me one day at work too, and she was sitting on the couch watching TV, and from where she was sitting, the hallway is like off to the right, and her bedroom door is right there. And it was in the middle of the daytime. And she said she was sitting on the couch and she heard her doorknob turn and the door open, and she looked up. So when it opened up just about enough like a little
Yeah.
crack right there, all the light from the window came
Yeah.
through, and she saw like a figure like look like that and then come back. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, I don't like that.
I'd be
Nope.
sleeping on the couch.
But
That's your room now. You can have it.
Yeah, that's yours. Like, don't do shit like that to my.
Yeah.
and
I
then
like to deal with them. I like no appearing in mirrors.
Yeah. Mirrors. Yeah.
Yeah.
and then we had some work done on the hallway and the master restroom. And of course, being Mexican, I called my cousins up. Hey, come fix me up, come hook me up, right? So they were gonna come and take care of my my needs there at the house, and they're in the kitchen the night before they're gonna do the work, and they're kind of game planning. Hey, tomorrow morning when we come in, this is what's gonna happen. This is how long it's gonna take, and we'll be done at this day or whatever. And we're sitting in the kitchen. We're standing in the kitchen. There's like 4 or 5 of my cousins, and then my family. We're all standing in the kitchen, and my cousin, who's the main guy, Manuel, he's looking down at his arm and he keeps like rubbing his forearm, and he's looking at my other cousin. I can't remember his damn name now, but he's looking at my other cousin, and my other cousin's like, why are you looking at me? He goes, dude, what are you doing to me? He goes, dude, I'm standing way over here, and so Manuel goes to the corner of the kitchen where he can see everyone, and he's talking again.
Yeah.
and he keeps looking at his arm. Then he just walks across the kitchen from me, and by this time, me and my family, we're like looking at each other because we're like, something's going on over here, right? So
Wow.
Manuel walks over, he grabs my arm, he picks it up, and he like squeezes it like really, really tight. And he goes, "This is what it feels like. It feels like someone's grabbing my arm." So then we
Wow.
told him of everything about the house, right?
Yeah.
The next morning when he comes in to start working, he's like, "Hey, come here, I want to show you something." I'm like, "What's up?" He holds out his arm. He's got these 4 fingerprint bruises on his arm.
Oh wow.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
And I mean, they are
Dang.
fingers. There are no doubt they're fingers.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're lucky he showed up to work.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, he
Right.
trust me. He said that when he would go there, if he was the first one there, because we would leave in the morning before they would get there, and
Yeah.
he said if I was the first one here, because I wouldn't even go in the house till everybody else showed up.
Just in the driveway.
Yeah, I'll be out here gardening outside till you guys
Yeah,
get here.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him. I do find myself on investigations, because the whole point is to get stuff to happen when you're on an investigation. And I find myself apologizing because, we'll say something like, "Oh, if you're here, can you give us a sign?" And then there's like a loud bang, and then everybody freaks out, right? And then you're like, "Sorry, I know we literally asked you to do that, and now we're freaking out. Like, we're not scared. Thank you for doing it, but you startled us a little bit," trying to explain it because
maybe like next time just tap a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
a little bit quieter. Yeah, it's definitely different to do it. I like to go somewhere and do an investigation. I don't want to deal with that stuff at home.
Well, what's funny too is we were talking about the paranormal stuff that's in the woods. A friend of mine named Sean, he's a Bigfoot investigator, and he found like a tree structure, and he happened to have his recorder on because when he's out in the woods, he likes to record, and he keeps his recorder on, and he was just walking around the tree structure, and he hears like right in his ear something go psst, like that, and he turns around and there's nobody there, but his recorder picked it up, so he has it on
Oh,
low up.
nice.
And then my friend Kimbo, that the owl sound that I sent you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's from Kimbo also. So
Oh wow.
he actually has on his recorder also a voice saying nobody, and that was all I said was just nobody. Yeah.
Wow,
Crazy.
it wasn't like in a response to a question or anything?
No, because when we go out there, we leave our recorders out there like overnight or even for a couple nights.
Oh, cool.
And he just heard a voice saying nobody, and that was on the same recorder in the same area that he got the owl sound.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I was listening to that recording, and my husband said, he's like, "What is that? A recording of somebody mimicking an owl?" And I was like, "No, I don't know what it is."
Yeah.
And he's like, "That's very clearly a person mimicking the sound." And I was like, "It sure as hell sounds like it, doesn't it?"
Yeah. So in that area, it's a famous area of like Bigfoot activity, and
Yeah.
and that's where he recorded it, and that's where they had what's called a torn up camp in the San Luis Forest, where a camp was found torn to shreds, and within a couple of days later, they found a couple of people that were unfortunately no longer with us.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's terrible.
Right. Yeah.
Heisenberg.
So, do you have anything you'd like to plug? Your show? Anything?
Yeah. Tell the guy standing in the window behind you that he can find me on, I'm on Facebook, I'm on TikTok, YouTube, Beyond the Woodline. And find my name, Joe de HOYOS. I'm on Facebook. I'm fairly easy to get in contact with. I love talking to people about all this crazy stuff, as you can tell.
Yeah.
If you have any crazy stuff you want to talk about, you don't have to come on the show. You can just talk to me. I'll listen to you, And my email is beyond.woodline@gmail.com.
And that's how people can get a hold of you if they want to join any of your many states.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For investigation and research, and or just talk and tell me your story. Like the guy that reached out to me yesterday, just tell me about his little missing time.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
What else? Just the podcast and Well,
yeah,
I guess
yeah,
we're all in the same place, so you can.
yeah. If you can find me, you'll find my podcast. Like I said, it's on YouTube,
Yeah,
and Spotify, Beyond the Woodline. So pretty easy.
very
Cool.
cool.
All right.
Awesome.
Cool.
This was so fun. Again, I'm like
Yeah.
not ready.
It's like all this time passed by, and I can sit here and tell you stories that I've heard.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does suck when we have like awesome guests that are like literally across the country, so it's not
Yeah.
like we could be like, hey, let's hang out sometime,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not that easy. There's like
Hang out on
flights
the-
involved and
Yeah. Let's go hang out on the back porch and talk for like 5-6 hours.
right.
Yeah, really. It'd be no problem too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mosquitoes.
And
Yeah. Well, thank you. What's that? And
he
what
said
you say?
mosquitoes.
Oh, I thought you said in speedos. I'm like, what the?
I don't know what you guys do.
What kind of show is this?
I don't know what you guys do on the back porch, man.
I gotta get at least one wheel off before we
Right.
sign out tonight.
This was way too like we were on track the whole time. It's
Yeah,
weird.
I know, right?
I told you how that makes me feel. Like it makes me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's too much.
All right. Well, everybody, first of all, thank you, Joe, again for being on. Thanks for having us on Tuesday.
Yeah, thank
Monday.
you. I appreciate it, man. You guys are great.
Monday.
Wasn't it
I'm sorry.
Monday?
Monday. No.
Yeah, the
Oh,
10th.
yeah.
Yeah,
It was
I'm like-
Monday. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It doesn't really matter. He had us on the show.
Yeah.
We had him on the show. So
Yeah.
thank
What
you
if
so
somebody
much.
wants to look up the particular show and they keep looking on
Right.
Tuesday?
And they're looking for Tuesday.
Yeah. Actually, anytime you have something going on, if you have any events or anything, just let us know. We'll put it out there for you. We'll share it out to our folks, and yeah.
Yeah.
It
Sorry,
happened
Mike.
quick, Mike. It happened
Yeah, it
quick.
happened. I had to get something stupid in right before the end. But that'll be it for us tonight, Crypto Heads. We hope you guys have a good weekend. Next week, I do already have a guest. Mr. John Ward will be on talking about his Scareville books that he's coming out with.
Well, I'm gonna mess him up, man.
It's gonna be a brawl between him and
Yeah.
Heisenberg.
Yeah, so we're just
You might
gonna
as
sit.
well not even be on the
Yeah.
show. Goose.
Dee and I we're not even gonna put our cameras on. It'll just be
Yeah.
Heisenberg and John Ward throwing
Yeah.
verbal punches at each other.
Yeah. Pretty good.
It's all in good fun, though. We love them. We all have
Yeah,
a
we
good
do.
time. So, with that being said, we love you, Crypto Heads. D.
Don't be an asshole.
Don't be an asshole. All right, guys. We
Mhm.
love you. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye.